R.A. Dickey throws a screwball. Travis Finlayson. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back with a special on-the-road edition of the League of Dicks podcast, the most competitive fantasy baseball league in North America. I am here sitting in Baltimore, Maryland, in a hotel room with shoddy Wi-Fi, so if we cut in and out, I apologize. But this is a podcast today that a great deal of people were looking forward to, not only in our league, but also across the country, because we don't really know who my guests are. We don't know what they're about. Actually, as I spoke to them earlier, I heard their voices for the first time, and it was thrown aback at the gloriousness that came out. We have the Pinto brothers tonight. So, Charlie, why don't you talk to everybody? Say hi.
All right, hello. I'm Charlie Pinto. Glad to be here, I guess.
All right, Marks.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Hey, how's it going, Mark?
It's going good. So all right, where are you guys from? Like, what's your story? Where'd you grow up?
Well, getting a little personal here.
Well, no, I have no...
I'm kidding. We grew up in some different places around the world. Our dad works for the Brazilian government, so we traveled around a little bit, spent some time in different countries, and kind of how we got connected with this whole league is, we spent time in Rye, New York, a few years there, so
right.
That's at the Coens, and that's about it, really.
And what are you doing now, Charlie?
Right now I'm in school, so just doing the graduate school thing.
How old are you right now?
I'm 45. No, I'm I'm 27.
27. Mark, what's up about you?
Let me just kind of give some background. Basically growing up in Rye, now we have a connection with the league. Somewhat, well, definitely a lot more so with Seth and Jay. We grew up with them. We hung out with them. I'm about Jay's age. Charlie's about Seth's age. So we hung out a lot. That was our main connection. I guess it was Charlie and Seth that started the league, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, right, Charlie? I mean, is it you guys saying let's start this up with Jay or whatever?
Yeah, I think, growing up, when we were in Rye, we had we do a lot of sibling kind of competitions. I remember we do 2-on-2 basketball, we do 2-on-2, I don't know, football somehow, or, all these random things. So I think when me and Seth were just talking on AIM one day, I guess like 2002 or something, and, I thought it'd be a good idea to get the sibling rivalry going again and start a fantasy baseball league. So I guess, I actually was the commissioner for the first year, but it's really kind of this whole thing from that year on. He really took it over and led the charge. But I guess that's the origin story right there.
All right. How do you feel about how the league has kind of grown and changed over the years?
It's been good. Starting out, I was actually looking at my fantasy profile history kind of things to remember back in the day. I guess I started doing stuff in 2002, and then we started this league in 2003. So this is my first baseball league, and I think as the years go on, once we've had this core group, year after year, it gets better and better. You get to know these people more and more. As much as you can, I guess, over fantasy baseball. But I think it's progressed well, and still as enjoyable as ever, I think.
No, I agree with that. I mean, how does it feel to be like so much worse than your brother at fantasy baseball? How does it feel? How does it feel to wake up every day knowing that you're not as good as him?
Valid point. Yeah. It's,
Just,
a few minor setbacks.
hold on. Go ahead, Mark.
I mean, basically, we're very competitive, so I'm not gonna try to coddle him, but I know that Charlie's insanely dedicated to the league, and we've been obviously with it since the beginning, and there's always a personal competition. There's always, we never take anything for granted. So I think I've had the better of him, obviously, in the results of late, but I don't know. I mean, you could say that Seth and Jay are even more far apart in terms of results, but I don't know.
Well, they're Cohen, so I don't really count them as anything, to be honest. They're like their own entity. Even if Seth wins, I don't know that they exist.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Fair enough,
we're more respected than those two, but
Well,
that's not saying.
I honestly, and I think a lot of league thinks this. You guys are more respected because you don't run your mouths as much. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. We kind of we'll sit back and let the bickering happen, and I guess you gotta open your mouth. It sounds stupid or whatever the saying is. So.
Well, no, you're not wrong.
It's just I don't know. I guess play it safe, if you will. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's two sides to that coin, though. All right, because you don't talk in the boards, nobody really gets to know you, right? So
right.
You have Mark who wins and doesn't talk, and all of a sudden they're like, wow, he's this silent figure who just lets the scoreboard do the talking. And then you have yourself, who you've had some pretty rough years. I mean, as have I. But when you don't talk and you have rough years, it's like, oh, the guy doesn't care. It's the same thing. It's like you want the NBA Finals right
it's
now.
kind of a vicious cycle. I mean, well, in my situation, it's kind of like when I do have the rough years, like the past, several, I especially don't feel like running my mouth when I can't back it up. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like be quiet and I don't know. I guess I don't see the point in kind of trash talking when I can't back it up these past few years. So that's why I guess I've been more quiet lately. So but yeah, that does also lead to seeming like I guess I'm less involved or whatever it is.
Yeah. Now, Mark, are you just like chilling, or are you like what's the rationale behind you not really being a big commenter or anything like that?
I mean, I've always just enjoyed being a spectator about over kind of the dickishness of it all over the years, and obviously there's been ebbs and flows. I mean, the peak of the Darren Ryan kind of message board wars was just incredibly, entertaining, and that's fine where I was actually more involved, I think, on the message boards when every once in a while I would throw something in there towards Darren, probably. So I feel like people aren't quite as, I guess, there's not as much animosity on the board in terms of, really kind of ongoing. There's everything, every little once in a while there's a little something that pops up, and we got some interesting new characters now, but I've always just been a spectator, and I do think that it's a psychological thing in terms of trying to stay out of kind of the trash talking. I mean, I never really had any interest in it. I just think you make more of a statement, like you said, just in the results. I guess that would be the Tim Duncan of the league. I had to turn off the TV. I was getting distracted by the game, but that's probably the comparison, I guess.
Yeah, I think also with Darren leaving, with some of the newer guys, there's not really a history to be able to kind of call back with trash talking, stuff like that. So, the Brian and Darren thing would go back years, comments made like years ago. So I think it may be, what's kind of the role maybe this year with the board in general is just obviously Darren's not there, but also there's less history with Maine.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Plus,
Maine to battle gone or whatever it is. So.
Plus the guy. I mean, the rookie is not really. He's not really like a intimidating or a strong personality in terms of calling somebody else out. Like I actually think it was probably for the best, even though he was my guy, that Morgan ended up not being part of it. But I often wonder how different the dynamic of the league would have been this year had more, because he would, the way just his emails were, he would have been posting constantly.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm sure there was activity on the message boards, but I don't know if it would have been for the better.
Yeah.
What might have been more interesting, for sure.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know which I prefer, to be honest with you. I think there's something nice about kind of settling in a little bit. But what made the league more than just, we're all incredibly knowledgeable about fantasy baseball. But what made the league a little bit more than the other leagues is the fact that we had this vehement animosity towards each other. There's a few managers that just hated each other.
Yeah,
I do think actually, though, that the kind of lack of activity in terms of really big kind of, trash talking on the board, I think that's related to the fact that the league has gotten even more competitive recently. People are really just concentrating on matchups and putting all their energy into that. And there's not as much of a sideshow of, kind of who can one up the other on the message board. But Darren started off as an insanely tough competitor, but I think it's evolved into him just basically, kind of focusing more on the dick rather than the league.
It's true.
So I think we actually gotten even more competitive recently. Despite the fact that maybe the league's not as entertaining, I guess, as it used to be. Which is plus, that's plus and minus. Plus and minuses to that for sure, but who knows?
Well, no, I agree. I do think that the competitive nature has increased a little bit. However, but I'm going to ask Charlie one thing. Then I want to ask you, Mark, about, because you did the league a favor by denying Darren a title. So I want you to kind of I want you to kind of run through that in a second, and just kind of give us the breakdown how because you came back in that one, I believe. You're against it, and then you came to victory. But before you do that, I want to ask Charlie this. Matt Cain for Kevin Gregg and Brendan League. Would you take that?
On which side?
You're trading for Kevin Gregg and Brendan League.
I think the answer is obvious.
Well, I'm just saying because you've never been successful in this league, so I just wanted to just give you the Travis litmus test.
Yeah, I'm going to say I wouldn't do that. There's been a few kind of pretty lost trades already this year, I think. It was a pretty bad one on practice for, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not honestly, I'm just giving you a hard time. Like, I'm in 11th place right now, and I got a bunch of Reuters and injured guys. It's done. The dream has died, as the name suggests. All right.
Right.
Yeah.
It happens.
Mark, what year was the matchup with Darren? What year was the matchup with Darren?
That's the problem. I'm struggling remembering the years at this point. I don't know if, the memory fading or just kind of blanking out. I don't know. I would say I had in terms of the general periods of what I was doing, I was getting kind of better every year, I think, early on. And I would say that people like Darren and Seth and Brian were definitely ahead of me. And so I was thought of as kind of an underdog, especially as I usually, I think, would finish just inside the playoffs, which is kind of my strategy, just to get in there and form my team with kind of more of a playoff strategy in mind. And so I guess it was a year or so before I actually won my title that I that's the thing. I honestly, it was a big deal. I remember I was like, wow, this is awesome because this guy's an asshole, and I came back and I just kind of humiliated him.
How'd you come back? How'd you come back? Paint the picture for this comeback.
Oh man, see that's the thing. I mean, there was obviously different types of strategy involved. A lot of it was kind of streaming bait because of just getting into a huge hole. But like I told you, I honestly remember very little about the details. I do remember being at that point very satisfied with the huge comeback and just making it to the final. And so at that point, unfortunately, that was kind of the end of the road, and I couldn't make that final step and win. But the next year, I believe I did end up winning. And this probably speaks against my kind of seriousness about this league, but like I said, I'm really just kind of fades from the memory after a while. I feel like I've been on the kind of the heartbroken end of playoff matchups more recently. That's what's sticking with me a lot more now, especially with Brian. Just having some really tough, obviously losing on a stat correction. Which is just kind of,
what's stat correction?
It doesn't really get much worse than that.
What's stat correction?
Well, basically, I guess it was the semifinal. I was playing Brian, and it was really insanely hard fought back and forth. And that's I honestly, I can't even remember if it was. I think it was the year before. Well, yeah, last year I finally finished under 500. First time I didn't finish above 500, so I didn't make the playoffs. So it was the year before that kind of broke me. Maybe I'm on a downward spiral now for good, but so it was 2 years ago, not last year, but the year before, and there was Sunday night that we were kind of back and forth, and I just had somehow just pulled off a miracle win because, I had some guy in the 8 o'clock game for Brian who just had one extra pinch hit at bat, and that lost an average or something. I'm really bad with details. But basically overnight, Yahoo changed one of my guys hit to an error or something, and that got me back down an average, and that lost that semi-final matchup. Which is funny. I mean, people are so concerned with their own matchup, they didn't really notice it much, but that was kind of killer to me. And I'm sure Brian can talk about it if he's on again, but that was tough. So that's the kind of stuff that sticks in my mind, and just the victories in the past, they're always nice, but I don't really think about the victories so much as the losses because I kind of just kind of keeps me motivated, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I can't really do the step-by-step recap. I'm sure people like, I don't know, Seth and Brian, who somehow, Jay, remember all these details. I don't know how. They can do something, but it's just on to the next year, basically.
Well, I'm very similar to you. Like, Seth is uncanny with his memories. I don't know how for the amount of pot he smokes, but somehow he remembers all the specifics about this league.
It's one of those. Yeah, it's probably like some sort of reverse kind of. It's like an ironic kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah. There's one thing. The one final thing I wanted to bring up to you, and Charlie, you can go ahead and answer this first. And I was at Pawpack. We had our annual Lake Pawpack Summit. For anyone that doesn't know, that's Jay's cottage on the lake, and I went up there with Jay and Travis. That's where we did our last podcast with Travis from. But Jay and I actually got into it very heatedly, and he told me to talk about this or to post about this. And since I don't like to write because I can't spell, I prefer to speak. And what it is we've been trying all these years to try and make pitching even with hitting in terms of categories. We even went to obviously this year to add that 7th stat, and all of a sudden I just had the realization. that there is no way to make pitching fair with hitting ever, because there's no way to guarantee that each team gets the exact same amount of starts. Because if I play you, Charlie, and you have 4 double starts, I'm screwed from the get-go. So pitching's not fair that week. So adding a 7 stat doesn't do anything for me, because the imbalance is already there innately in the way the matchups are set. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. I guess, Charlie, do you think that we should just go back to the way it was and just admit that, you know what? We're a hitting league, and there's no way to make pitching fair, so let's stop trying to do it, and let's go back to 6x6 and just let it be a hitting-dominated league.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think see how the rest of this year goes out. I'm still kind of on the fence with the 7 stat right now, but yeah, it is different with baseball being a sport where, in terms of fantasy baseball, where you have half the stats or whatever, maybe almost half the stats are involve pitchers who only pitch once every 5 days, wherever it is. So it's kind of a random variable there each week, from week to week. That's not going to be as consistent as the hitting is. So if you have a better hitting lineup, then odds are that that's going to be more consistent, and you have a better chance to win your matchup week to week. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how the rest of this year goes. But I don't think too much has changed. Just kind of, it has just kind of changed maybe some people's strategy. That's all.
That's all I think we've done is change the strategy. I don't know that the fact of the matter is, you and I can both play catcher through utility. Every day, we can fill those spots, and we can make sure that we have a warm body to throw who's going to be give average production. But if I spend big money and I get a Clayton Kershaw, I get a Strasburg, whoever you want to call, King Felix, whatever it is. But those guys collectively are not pitching until Thursday, and you have a bunch of second-tier starters who have a bunch of double starts. Even though I have the better pitches than you have the advantage of that week.
Right, yeah, and I also think, with especially the last, several years, with pitchers and Tommy John surgery kind of becoming more and more prevalent, I think it's just getting harder and harder to rely on these stars, regardless of if they're top notch or if they're second tier, third tier. So that seems to be an issue also at times.
Yeah. I agree with you there. Mark, what do you think? I'm interested to hear what you have to say, because you have kind of the moniker of being Mr. Offense.
Yeah, that's I guess it's no secret. So I would say that I definitely value hitters more than pitchers. And again, I think, like you said, it's because we are in a head-to-head league with a lot of folks that have a lot of different strategies. So it's also like real baseball. So this is not just me. In real baseball, the position players, the superstars, are in many cases more valuable, get locked up for longer contracts than the pitchers. So one big reason, obviously, that is injury. The other being the fact, like you guys said, simple fact that those guys are playing every single day. The pitchers are playing once every 5 days at most. So that's the way I look at it. And for me, in terms of risk reward, I also look at the risk of injury. And that's why even these superstar pitchers, on these bases, which are, I would say, more valuable in our league this year because of new stat that has changed it. Even that being the case, you get a guy hurt, it's tough, and that's going to happen more with pitchers. And it seems like it happens more and more every year with the way, I don't know what these pitching coaches are doing anymore. I miss Leo Mazzoni very badly. But that's the way I look at it. I do think that if we change to, which we're not going to do, I'm sure, we change to a roto league, that would make a bit of a difference, because you're talking about just things being all even out over the long run. You don't have these kind of two start kind of thing. Week to week, it's all one-day seasons. But I think the nature of our league and the personalities in our league, we wouldn't want to do that. We're all in a head-to-head kind of league. But
would you like to?
I mean, I think we are a hitters league, and so I'm not really for different stats. I mean, it's fine. I'll just do a different strategy based on whatever stats are there. But for me, and again, I don't think I'm letting any secrets out. My strategy is focused on hitting, and kind of pitching is too risky, and just, so there's a lot of different factors involved. There's luck involved in pitching, like you guys said. So that's why I think we're still going to tend more towards hitting.
So would you
maybe to an extreme? But.
Would you want to go back to the way it was, the 6x6?
I mean, it's really not that big of a really the way, like you said, things are still going to end up about where they were before in terms of the balance being more towards hitters. But I mean, there's some interesting things that are being done. It's still very early, so I haven't really noticed that much. I think there's a lot of people that are really focusing on more kind of, not relief pitchers exclusively, but maybe trying to get that kind of 4 out of 7 pitching stats or something like that. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know why I have that epiphany that we're trying to make something fair that on a week-to-week basis is not fair. Maybe the answer is like a maximum innings pitched every week, like 50 innings max is the limit. I don't know. Maybe that helps so that you have to think about maybe not playing a double starter twice. Maybe that's the answer. But if we're really trying to make it fair, okay, the way I see it, you have two options. We can either say, you know what, we're a hitter league and accept that and just go with it the way it's been for the past 10 years. Or we can say, we really want to make it fair. And if that's the case, then just adding another set doesn't make it fair because it's an imbalanced position.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when you do it based on stats because it's hard to figure out how which stats are really going to make it fair, especially if you have an odd number. But I think we always make minor changes year to year, and it doesn't really change that much in the long run. So, I mean, I think things just progress organically. But
no, I agree with that.
I'll let Charlie talk.
Yeah, Charlie. Actually, why don't you wrap that up and then give us kind of your parting shots here? We're running up against it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot with Mark said. I think we do change little things each year, but so far anyway, it hasn't changed the overall makeup in terms of offense being more or carry more strength, I guess, in the league. But yeah, I mean, there's something to maybe innings limit or something like that. If that is a way to have to be able to strategically decide, who you're going to start and not just be able to throw out, have the advantage, I guess, just the luck advantage of having a double start, that weekend to that opponent. So, we'll see what happens in the future, I guess.
Awesome. Mark, parting shots, again, about 20 seconds.
Well, I mean, that's about it. I'd like to say I'm sorry for Travis. I think you guys just want a new one. He's already doing bad enough as it is, but I'm sure you guys have known each other for a while. So that's friendship.
We knew each other. We knew each other for a while, and it's just one of those things where we're all drinking and we're all hanging out, and then it got carried away. So I do feel bad about how hard I hit him. Like I wouldn't do that normally, but it's Travis, So it is what it is. It's true. Mark, thank you. Charlie, thank you. This is the League of Dicks podcast, the most competitive league in North America. Till next time.